2, 1.
Nice.
Hey,
Hello,
everybody.
everybody. It's me, Tug, and Lance, and Thrash.
Thrash. Right there.
We were just talking. This is probably only going to be about an hour long. I am fighting a cold. It may not sound like it, but I'm on a ton of cold medicine. So I don't know if my energy level is going to last. But we'll just save it for a part 2. So we're going to do an hour this time and an hour next time. I'm not sure when I'm going to schedule the next one, but I'll let you know. It could even be next week. Like I could drop my video in the morning and have the live stream in the afternoon. It's fine.
Either that next week or in like 2 weeks, maybe. Like, there you go.
Well, that one's going to be a little difficult. I got things to do that week, so maybe not.
Oh, next week or next maybe 3 weeks from now. So
okay, we can do 3 weeks from now if that works for you. But whatever, we'll sort this out later.
Bye, everybody. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I just have to say, hi, Tom. Schindler's List does not count as post-apocalyptic. Yes, it takes place after a horrible war, but actually it takes place during a horrible war. But that's not post-apocalyptic. It's like in the future. So hi, Tom. Hi, Indy. Hi, Zuper.
Hi, Zuper.
Rick. Donovan. Tom, the Hungry Jerk. There's lots of people here today. All right. We got a good crowd.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. All right, so all I did was come up with a short list of post-apocalyptic movies that I could think of, basically off the top of my head. I didn't spend too much time on it, and I figured we'll just go around. We'll just list the movie and start talking about it. You know me, I don't do structure. Oh, Sean Ennis is here too. Hi, Sean Ennis.
Hi, Sean.
Sean, what's going on, man?
Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to start with a bang. I'm going to start with probably my favorite post-apocalyptic movie, and one that I might argue is the best one, and that's Planet of the Apes. Because, of course, I have to say Planet of the Apes. If you know me, you know how much I love Planet of the Apes. I just like any kind of post-apocalyptic movie that deals with how, like, society rebuilds, and it always has to do with, like, like little microcosms of all the problems we normally have, like a typical dystopia kind of thing. I love Planet of the Apes. It's one of the best twists in cinematic history, invented by Rod Serling.
You
I don't know.
You
And
did
Charlton
it.
Heston. Charlton Heston is
you.
the king of post-apocalyptic movies, and we're going to hear from him again, I'm sure. So anyway, what do you guys think? What do you guys have to say about Planet of the Apes?
There's only one reason why Planet of the Apes didn't make my list, and that's very simply because I couldn't decide which one of the original franchise fit it best. I narrowed it down to number 2 because that's where we really see the fat and the fire. We see the mutant city. We see them coming into one final battle. I don't want to give anything away, but I see Planet of the Apes more as an overall franchise, like an extended operatic series. So
you can watch all 5 movies in a row, and it just feels like one really long movie. Yeah, it's like five chapters of a story. Yeah,
precisely. 3 doesn't quite fit. Life Goes On. I mean, I like it, but it's almost like they were trying to do something a little bit different, and that little bit different didn't work. It's excellent for exposition because it fills in everything that they talked about before, although the timetable doesn't match up.
No, it doesn't work, but whatever.
Well, and you could make the argument that because of the time travel, they altered the timeline, but I'm giving them too much credit. But yes, Planet of the Apes definitely works, and again, particularly number 2.
The thing I like about the third one is that of all of them, it's the only one that has really like a light tone, and it is kind of funny. I like the jokes, and I like Ricardo Montalban, of course. But you're right; it doesn't fit in with the other 4. Like, I can see your point.
Well, yeah. Remember the part of the movie when he found that doll and it said, "Mama."
Duh.
Who invented that?
Would an ape
creepy.
make a human doll that talks? Charlton Heston's scene chewing is literally the best thing in the franchise, even though he's only in the first 2. It's amazing.
Well, Slasher Fred says that Rod Serling had used the plot twist where an astronaut discovered that he had been on Earth all the time for his Twilight episode, I Shot an Arrow into the Air. I don't actually remember that episode. I'm sure you're right.
That's the first one I saw. I actually read a novella adaptation of that in like 6th grade literature class. And yes, he lifted the twist ending right from that.
Well, I'm sure I'll find out soon enough because I'm done with the first season of Outer Limits, and my vote on my channel has won the day that I'm going to be doing Twilight Zone next. So, and it was like by a big margin. There were 4 options, and I think Twilight Zone was 50%. So most people wanted me to watch Twilight Zone.
Arguably best science fiction show of all time. Arguably. I mean, you can make a case for it. Okay, sorry, I cut you off, Lance. What were you saying? I think Lance might be having some connection issues.
Uh-oh.
I thought it was me for a second, but...
yeah. I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Now we're Thrash.
Oh,
Thrash comes back on my prep. The movie was called Liberty.
I can sort of hear what you're saying. Let's see. Sean the Statue of Liberty. Yeah. It's iconic. And you can't argue for it being a spoiler because it's on the movie poster, for crying out loud. Okay, Lance is coming back. I don't know. We'll see. We all have internet issues, man. It is what it is. I've been having issues with my upload speeds. Like when I make a video and I try to upload it, it's taking me way longer than it used to. Like hours. Let's see.
I'm surprised I haven't any today because I am famous for them.
You're doing great, actually. Like I've got no issues with you. Let's see. Sean says he loves the Planet of the Apes. He just wishes the studio didn't keep reducing the budgets for the sequels. Despite that, the first 3 were pretty good. What do you have against the 4th one?
Well,
I will agree that, yeah, I know. The 5th one, I will agree, the low budget really, really hurts it. It's a good story, but man, the low budget hurts. And I like that they basically remade it for the second one. The second of the new Planet of the Apes trilogy is basically a remake of the 4th one, or the 5th one, Battle for the Planet of the Apes. I like remade it for the second one, the second of the new. Getting a little bit of echo from you, Lance.
Hold on.
All right, no worries. Technical issues. Plague of YouTube.
Yeah, I'm having issues. Hold on, I'll be right back.
All right, no problem.
Okay, we shall endeavor to persevere.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go.
Hello, Nicole. Glad you made it.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Nicole, how you doing?
I'm back.
Glad you could make it. Good to see you, Lance.
Well, I mean, spoiler alert, it eventually became that for everything.
Here was 2. Shaky, or Shaky, whatever you call it. It is a post-apocalyptic movie.
Well, he was saying, like, not for the apes. Like, the apes were still successful. But after the second movie, it was still post-apocalyptic for the apes. So anyway.
I like the scene when I like the scene at the table. I like the scene at the table where they're like, seeing them evil here and evil speak evil.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's also iconic. Yeah. Okay, so what about you, Thrash? What do you got?
I'm going to open with what is literally, not figuratively, literally my favorite post-apocalyptic film of all time. And as you folks all know, I am something of a huge buff. And that is the Ralph Bakshi classic Wizards. This film has everything. First of all, it's an animated feature film. I love animated features. The animation is spectacular. Bakshi made rotoscope an art form, which is funny. I read an article about him by him later where he says he hated the rotoscope. He didn't want to use rotoscope. It was just a cheap fill-in for some scenes where his budget was running low. I still think it worked amazingly. The imagery of like the knights and the Nazi Afrika Korps troops in rotoscope running across the battlefield. That haunted me for years when I was a kid. It's the classic story. It's a story of good versus evil. Supposedly, depending on whose story you believe, Bakshi says that he borrowed the concept from his long-term friend and associate, Von Bidet. Bidet's son said, "No, you ripped my father off after he died." I'm sure the truth is somewhere in the middle, although they did collaborate on many times. But it takes place not right after the apocalyptic event. It takes place 3 million years after the apocalyptic event, where the actual biosphere has been recreated. And somehow, call it through Gaia, somehow magic has re-entered the biosphere. So you see things like dwarves and elves and magic using wizards. And they end up getting locked in a battle with the evil side, which is demons and Nazi mutants. And the climactic battle, again, is when you have dwarves and elves fighting demons and Nazi mutants, how can you possibly not have fun with this? And I thought the character development was excellent. I thought the story was top-notch. Tom, he and I have talked about this on many occasions. He wants me to do a whole retrospect on it, which I'm still working on, but I'm going to open up with that one.
That's a great one. I love it. I remember I showed it to everybody on my floor in my dorm room when I was in college, and the ones who liked it were the ones who became my friends. Everybody else thought I was weird. Like, this is bizarre, man. What is this? But yeah,
well, you have to go into it with an open mind. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I told them this is going to be weird. Just kind of roll with it and see what happens. But yeah, I like weird animated movies too. I mean, I got that poster for Fantastic Planet back there, which is one of my favorites, but it's not really post-apocalyptic, so it doesn't count. But Wizards, like Ralph Bakshi and the rotoscoping, so good. Hi, Lance. Yeah, I can hear you.
Heavy metal.
Heavy metal. Yeah, heavy metal's great too. Did a video on that too.
Good.
I think RNG has a video on that too. Oh yeah, I've got the soundtrack. It's fantastic.
Amazing soundtrack.
Want to take a ride?
Yeah.
Don Felder.
It's funny. It's got like it's got a lot of like what you would consider classic 80s music, but really it was they were all written in like 79 and 80. So like it's barely 80s music. But you know, it's got Journey on it, so of course it's 80s music.
Definitely. And Sammy Hagar.
Of course. Yeah.
One thing, now it's not post-apocalyptic, but one thing I just wanted to say about heavy metal while we're on the subject is one of my favorite vignettes, B-17. I was reading an article later on. Apparently, the story was adapted from this actual event, this World War II veteran who was a B-17 operator, had traumatic PTSD after the war, and for years was having this recurring nightmare that all his friends were killed, but kept coming back to life. And he would wake up screaming. And apparently Dan O'Bannon got a hold of the story and turned it into B-17. But I thought that somehow made it even more tragic than the actual story.
Yeah, that makes it scarier. Yeah. The fact that like somebody had to go through that kind of in his head. Anyway, I wanted to say hi to Das Gimp, to, you know, Scott.
Scotty!
Glad you can make us. And I think a couple other people have popped in. So, Martial Arts Film Freak, hi. I did think of Fist of the North Star. I didn't think about Cyborg. I haven't seen that movie in so long. Okay. Sean Innes says his uncle was a B-17 pilot. He flew with the Reich Wreckers. That's hard to say, Reich Wreckers.
That's amazing. Thank you for the service.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. Well, since Lance just keeps popping in and out, I guess I'll just keep going. I also, let's see, I got a lot on my list. Let me just like pick one. Okay, I can't have a conversation about post-apocalyptic movies with Thrash without mentioning the Omega Man, The Last Man on Earth. We won't talk about the third one, but but either of those is great. And the Omega Man, again, Charlton Heston. Last Man on Earth has got one of my favorite Vincent Price monologues where he's calling them all freaks. So good. Oh, he's back.
Okay.
What's up, Lance? A lot of people like to bash on Omega Man 2, and I think Omega Man actually has some really great things going for it. It was directed by Boris Segal, Katie Segal's father, a peg for Married with Children. And he actually did some pretty good stuff. I thought the way it was filmed was epic. I loved, they weren't true vampires, they were more just mutated humans, but I loved the sort of pre-industrial society they formed. Charlton Heston chews the scenery. I can't get enough of that. I thought it was a great film. I think I like Last Man on Earth more faithful adaptation, and Vincent Price. How can you go wrong? The one thing they all have in common, and I'm not sure how many of you out there have read the Richard Matheson novella, they never quite get the ending right.
Stick the landing, and it's like the most important part of the story.
Exactly. It's the I am legend. Why are you a legend? Well, here, let me explain it to you in this story. And that's the only criticism I have about all of them. For once, I let them get the ending right.
Well, the thing, the Omega Man, I appreciate it a lot more when I stop thinking of it as an adaptation of I Am Legend. I just kind of think of it as its own thing. Then I can really enjoy it because I put all that baggage aside and just enjoy it for what it is. And yeah, Charlton Heston talking to a statue, it's fantastic. So Lance, well, we got you. You have any movies you want to list? If you're there.
Poor Lance.
But
I wanted to say hi, Danny. Since you're listening, you can't see that I put your post up.
I'm not sure I've seen Burm.
Sorry, Lance. We can't really get you.
Can't do it, but we're trying. We're trying so hard. And again, more sympathetic I could not be.
Yeah, we've all been there, man.
Shall I skip to my next one? Yeah.
Yeah, you should probably try that.
Go Thrash.
Now I'm going to do this one only because we've been talking about Charlton Heston nonstop for the last 20 minutes. So I want to read this into the record. Although after I say it, I'm going to throw this up to you folks and see what you folks think. Soylent Green, possibly the one post-apocalyptic police procedural film ever made. It's one of the few films I've seen where I've read the book and watched the movie, and I like the movie better. Charlton Heston, again, seen chewing. The way they visualized, the way they showed this horrible future, I thought was absolutely amazing. Everyone is at their best in this movie, not just Chuck Heston. Edward G. Robinson in his last role. Whit Bissell is the crooked mayor. Chuck Connors as the crooked bodyguard. I think it all just comes together. And while you watch the movie, you really, really, really feel it. It's like when you watch Dr. Zhivago in the summertime and you still get cold when they show the ice castle. You could be full and you watch so many scenes of people starving that you actually start to feel like you're malnourished during this film. It really, really paid off. But one thing I want to throw this out to you folks. Would you consider Soylent Green post-apocalyptic, or is it more dystopian?
Yeah, like I thought about Soylent Green earlier because it's one of my favorite movies. I freaking love it. But you're right. Is it a dystopia? I mean, is it a post-apocalyptic? Because usually in a post-apocalyptic movie, you're dealing with a lack of people, whereas Soylent Green's the exact opposite. It's too many people. So I don't know. I would probably count it as a dystopia, but it definitely feels like a post-apocalyptic movie because everything has fallen apart. Everything is corrupt. People have dehumanized each other to the nth degree. And that scene where Edward G. Robinson dies, that's hard to watch, especially when you know that he knew he was dying when he filmed it.
Opinion is divided on whether Chuck knew. Some people say that he knew and it was their way of saying goodbye to each other. Some say no, Chuck had no idea. He's just a good actor. I kind of like the idea that they actually knew because they had been friends for 25 years at this point.
They were great friends. Yeah,
and
I think the way he explained it, the way Charlton Heston answered that question, I can hear you a little bit. You're still kind of jumpy. But Charlton Heston says he didn't explicitly know, but he strongly suspected because he could see that there was something wrong with him. So yeah, I believe that. I think that's probably accurate. Yeah.
So he knew here, but not in here.
Exactly. Yeah. And yes, Rick Topeka, The World, the Flesh, and the Devil with Harry Belafonte. Great post-apocalyptic movie. Definitely counts. Okay, there's a lot of comments I got to go through. So, fill the dead air, Thrash. Just.
I will. I'll actually. I'm going to pick one that I bet a lot of you people haven't even heard of. It's a Japanese film, and it's called The Last Days of Planet Earth. And it was a Toho Studios attempt to sort of capitalize on the Nostradamus predictions, and it's done almost as a mockumentary, where environmental problems and overpopulation cause things to kind of go downhill. Thankfully, that never happened, huh, folks? But it shows what the impact it would be on society, Japanese society in particular, but society as a whole. There are food riots, death cults pop up, either as a protest or just because of total futility. It really shows what a social impact Earth would have, and it's funny because it goes from contemporary times to a little bit ahead where things are really, really falling apart. I mean, at first it's just like, oh wow, look, there's giant bats now for no reason, and mutant slugs in the dumpsters, and then it's sort of, things are getting like worse. What are we going to do? And the governments try to figure things out, but of course they don't work together, so it makes things worse. And then it shows what things could look like in a possible future, and those are just downright disturbing. So now there's two versions of this. There's an Americanized version and the original Japanese, and guess which one I'm going to say is better?
The original Japanese, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yes, it is. The American version is fine, but not only did they kind of culturally polish it for the American audiences, the American version, they cut out some very important scenes. I'm guessing just to give it a PG rating in the States, and it really kind of, much like Cormac McCarthy's The Road, when you cut a couple of things out in the bounds of good taste, unfortunately, you kind of undermine the whole work, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I haven't seen it, so it's a good choice. Let's see. It looks like Lance gave up. So it's okay, Lance. We do definitely understand. We're not holding it against you in any way. And don't worry, you're still invited to part 2. We'll figure it out.
And you're still with us in spirit.
Yeah, you're in the comment section. Don't worry about it. And Retro Nerd Girl is here. Finally was able to make it.
Retro Nerd Girl!
Makes me feel especially bad that I can never make it to her shows. The timing is just always off for me. Especially on Saturdays. Like, my Saturdays are always really busy. Sorry about that. I love your stuff and I plug it. I do. Let's see. So they're talking, like, there's a lot of questions in the comments about whether an apocalypse in progress counts as a post-apocalyptic movie. And that's it's a gray area, because, like, especially if, like, the movie takes place both during and after the apocalypse, then sure, you can count that.
Well, it's funny because my litmus test is, and I stole this from somewhere, so I didn't come up with it myself, but the key difference between a dystopian film and a post-apocalyptic film is, and again, you mentioned population, and that's certainly a factor, but to me is there a functioning government in place? Now, it doesn't have to be a good government. A lot of times it's a bad government. It may be, as you say, a corrupt government, or just one that's not really effective. It's almost like lip service. But yeah, if there's something in place, I mean, I didn't include Children of Man, by the way, because there's still fuel for the automobiles. Telephones still work. You can still get coffee in the morning. This is not post-apocalyptic. It's dystopian.
No, I agree. I
now,
also thought of Children of Men. Yeah. And I didn't include it for pretty much the same reason. But it does have a lot of the same tropes of post-apocalyptic movies, including, like, the way it ends and stuff like that.
You want to know why? because P.D. James borrowed from what is my favorite. I know we're doing movies, not books today, but my favorite post-apocalyptic book of all time, Greybeard by Brian Aldiss. It's essentially the same plot, and she borrowed extensively from that book. Actually, she confirmed it herself.
Huh. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Learn something every day.
And Nicole's saying, so 1984 is not post-apocalyptic. It's hard to say, especially if you've read the book, because you don't really know what's happening in the outside world. Like, you don't really know how it started. It could be post-apocalyptic. It might not be post-apocalyptic. But I would definitely count that more as a dystopia, because that's classic dystopias, when authoritarianism has gone completely out of control. Most dystopias are like that. Let's see. I've got another one. You were talking about movies that were better than the book, better than the book.
Yeah.
And one that I actually think that way about is Logan's Run, but mostly because the two things are so different. The book and the movie are very far apart from each other. I like certain things about the book, but I think the movie's better executed and makes its point a lot clearer than the book does. The book's kind of muddled and confusing and doesn't really know what it wants to say. But man, I love that movie, and I will always be in love with Jenny Agutter. She's so good in that movie. And oh my god. and Michael York. Right? How can you not love Michael York?
No, I have a crush on him too.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you my Michael York story?
No, I don't think so.
Would you like to hear it?
Yes, absolutely.
Here's the situation. When I was working for Suncoast, the video chain, many years ago, we were doing a national convention, and all the big studios sent representatives there, so we would hawk their merchandise, right? Austin Powers 2 had just come out, and they sent Vern Troyer and Michael York to do an autograph signing. Now, I was over the moon because I've been a fan of Michael York since I was like a little kid, since like the Richard Lester Three Musketeers. But there's like 4 or 5 people who wanted his autograph. The line for Vern Troyer was out the door. It was crazy. But I'm like, no, I'm going to go over here and get Michael York's autograph. And I wait patiently, and he's got these 8x10 black and white glossies, and he's just... and he gives me mine, and as I'm taking it, I go, I've been a fan of yours since I was 6 years old, and I saw you in Three Musketeers. I was a little gushy, I'll admit. But his response will haunt me. He just sort of stared at me and goes, oh, is that so?
Right.
Hey, Lance, can you try again?
Oh, hey, Lance, you're back. So it was sort of a letdown. Now, Vern Troyer was great. When I got his autograph, Shasta McNasty had just been renewed for a second season. I went, hey, congratulations on the show being renewed. And he was like, thanks. Like, he was amazed that somebody watched it. But as they say, that's the story.
Zuper.
Welcome back,
actually,
Lance.
He wasn't a pig. He was more like a wolf, if you've seen The Island of Dr. Murrow from 1977.
With Michael York? Yes.
Yeah. I love that one. I'm going to do a video on that one of these days.
Law no more.
Because I love it. It might be my favorite Island of Dr. Moreau movie, which is weird because everybody else thinks of the other two. Nobody ever thinks of that one.
I know. But, Burt Lancaster.
Oh, yeah.
He was great. He was great.
I think it got a lot of flack from professional film people because it was done by Roger Corman and AFI and all those people. So, they just kind of dismissed it as trash. It's really not. It's a really good movie. The Return of Lance.
Yep. Part 2.
Bye, Nicole. Well, thanks for stopping by. Always good to have you.
Bye, Nicole.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys talk about another one. I gotta take a second to.
No worries.
I got one.
No worries. Oh, Lance, go ahead.
How about the teacher?
Try again.
Your.
Yeah. Oh, your.
Oh, your. Right.
Yeah. I'd forgotten that one. That's sort of Star Wars meets Teenage Caveman. Yeah, I'll buy that.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, it is a good one.
But yeah, I'll give you that one.
Hi, Retro Negro.
RNG, what's going on?
Yeah, the 1930s version with Bela Lugosi as the Speaker of the Law and Charles Laughton as Dr. Murrow. It is a great movie. Don't get me wrong.
It really
Nothing
is.
wrong with that.
And Bela Lugosi's in it too.
Yeah, Bela Lugosi's the Sayer of the Law. Yeah.
In fact, I believe that was one of the very, very, very few occasions. In fact, I can't think of another one where you had Lugosi and Karloff together on a film.
Was Karloff?
Yeah,
well,
Karloff
I know. Karloff wasn't in that. No, but Bela Lugosi, he.
I'm sorry. I thought Karloff had a small part in that as well.
I don't think so. I mean,
All right.
I might be wrong, but I don't think so. I know that Lugosi was having some serious financial issues at the time, and that's why he agreed to do it. Because he had famously said he was never going to do a role that required that much makeup, because he wanted people to be able to see his face. Otherwise, what's the point?
Tell that to
you
Ron Perlman.
When you're broke,
well, the man was a heroin addict for what, 30 years?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something ridiculous.
I'm traveling.
Oh, traveling.
Yeah,
that's illegal in some states.
How about now?
I mean, I can hear you. Your visuals still kind of stuttery, but I can hear you a lot better.
Yeah, I went to another room.
Okay.
Go to your room. No supper.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm still here.
Hi.
This is better, isn't it? Good.
So
it is better. It's definitely better. Even
So
Zuper agrees.
There.
I'm gonna go ahead and name another one.
Sure.
Let's see. We haven't talked about the Mad Max movies yet, and we have to talk about the Mad Max movies. We're talking about post-apocalyptic movies.
The king of them.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the last one, but I would still have to say my favorite one is got to be Road Warrior. The second one, it's the quintessential post-apocalyptic movie, right? What do you guys think?
Definitely the quintessential. It has everything. It has action. It has redemption. It has, well, what else do you really need? The visuals are absolutely amazing. I mean, Humongous and his Desert Warrior gang were just, I mean, that's iconic. The little enclave of the last surviving remnants of civilization, although they pretty much are just hoarding the resources for themselves. So it's not like their hands aren't a little dirty too. But it was great. And the kid with the razor boomerang.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
just too cool for school. And of course, the bad guy's name is Wes, I want to say, the one with the mohawk who you can run, but you can't hide.
Right, yeah.
He's priceless. He steals the movie.
What do you got, Lance?
If you want the water, see, you want the water, you have to talk to me.
You want the water, you got to talk to me. Yeah.
The juice. You want the juice? Well, anyway, yeah, he is great in that movie. Oh, and speaking of which, you can see the evolution from the dystopian to the post-apocalyptic right in the first two films.
That's true.
The first film, there is a functioning society. It's hanging by a thread, but it's still there. Second one is all bye-bye.
Yeah, it's
every
chaos.
man for himself.
It's anarchy.
How about the third one?
The third one, Beyond Thunderdome, with Tina Turner with that hair. Yeah. I mean, I like all of them. Like, don't get me wrong, they're great.
I love it.
Oh, he's gone.
And
again.
he's gone again.
Poor
But
Lance.
to answer your question, Lindsay, yeah, a lot of people like to bash on number 3. I thought number 3 was great. It just wasn't as good as the first two. But we're not talking Godfather franchise level. Third, not as good as the first two. But it's just not quite as good.
And yeah, George Miller really did know how to use a buck, like all of his movies, even to this day when he makes movies, he doesn't use big budgets. He knows how to make the money work.
Hey guys,
Yes.
how about Steel Dawn with Swayze?
Steel Dawn.
I haven't seen that movie in years, but
He's
yes,
in
it
it.
definitely fits.
Byron James is in it.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I get like Thrash. I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I remember loving it when I was a kid.
And I think he met his wife on that movie too.
Oh, really?
Probably. Yeah.
Wow. Excellent. I did not know that. Excellent. So, Tug, what's another one of yours?
Well, let's stop dancing around it, and we'll talk about the movie I just watched the other day. And that's Night of the Comet, because I know it's one of your favorites of all time, Thrash. So I'm going to let you take the lead. I'm just going to name it and let you talk.
Really?
Yes.
Night of the Comet is one of those. Now, when it came out, I was in high school, and I wanted to see it just because it looked funny from the trailer. It's one of those post-apocalyptic films where every time I watch it, I get something else out of it. But for those of you who haven't seen it, it's basically the story. New Year's Eve is being hijacked. Sorry, Christmas Eve is being hijacked because this Phantom Comet came out of nowhere this past years for the first time since the dinosaurs. Hint, hint. And everyone goes out to watch it. So we see basically an homage to the Day of the Triffids. And the problem is, as you've guessed, people get vaporized by this comet, and only a handful of people who were shielded, I won't tell you how, survive. And by some miracle, 2 sisters survive. And they're not just sisters, they're also both badasses. Their father was special forces, so they can fight, they can use weapons. And it's basically these 2 valley girls fighting zombies. And they make some friends along the way, and it's just great. I think it works as a Christmas movie. Joss Whedon admitted that one of the girls is like a high school cheerleader. He based Buffy the Vampire Slayer on Sam from Night of the Comet. He thought that this sort of take back the night type warrior worked well. Only instead of zombies, he used vampires because they were a little more 3-dimensional. And phenomenal cast, in like bit parts here and there. And it just, the whole thing it works on so many levels that I just simply can't recommend it enough.
No, I agree. And it's funny. Catherine Mary Stewart has always, again, been one of my crushes. And she's really good in that movie. But she's like the lesser of the two in terms of Valley Girl-ness. Like Sam is definitely more of a Valley Girl. I like it because it kind of feels like it's both a throwback to the 50s style of sci-fi, and it's also like a satire of 80s culture. And there's so many different things going on. And every time I watch it, I always forget that the guy Heck is played by the same guy who plays Chakotay in Star Trek.
Robert
I always
Beltran.
forget that. Robert Beltran.
Hey, Tug.
Yeah.
The guy you're talking about, he's also in Lone Wolf McQuay.
Say it again.
The guy that you're talking about is in Lone Wolf McQuay.
Yes, he is. Oh my God, you were right. He is
the deputy.
And I just love that scene towards the end where he racks up to the compound in like the cowboy hat and the convertible, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm Heck," and he's like drinking a beer. That just cracks me up every time. It's so
hey guys,
good.
you want to know something? I think a week ago it was Catherine Mary Stewart's birthday.
Yeah, it was
61 years old.
Yeah, she actually. I actually talked to her briefly, like over email, because one of my friends, who's also a YouTuber, sent her a link to my review of The Last Starfighter, and she saw it, and so she just wanted to say thanks for being a fan. So yeah, it was cool.
Lucky.
She's very sweet.
Very cool. That is so cool.
I'm
a little jealous, damn you.
How about The Last Starfighter?
Exactly, The Last Starfighter. Fantastic movie. Definitely not post-apocalyptic. I mean, well, it is for most of the galaxy, but not for us.
Oh, one little tidbit, by the way, about Robert Beltran. The lady who plays the scientist with a conscience is the only way I can think of describing her.
Right.
In None of the comment. They starred together in another 80s cult classic, Eating Raoul. Not post-apocalyptic, but definitely worth a mention. So the two of them were in two. You've never heard of Eating Raoul? Oh, you gotta watch it. That's all I can say. I can't say a word about it. You gotta see Eating Raoul.
I will make a note of it. Go ahead.
How about Tank Girl?
Tank Girl. Yes.
Oh, awesome. Love Tank Girl.
Such a great movie.
Ice-T the Kangaroo.
That movie, it feels very ADHD, but it's also one of the most, in terms of comic book movies, like it's one of the most. It feels the most like reading a comic book. Like most comic book movies don't try to lean into the comic bookiness of it, but that movie just goes whole hog, and it's just insane, and I love it. And Malcolm McDowell over the top, so good.
That's the villain. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, Malcolm McDowell.
And then Naomi Watts in that movie too.
Yep. And Lori Petty is Tank.
Oh yeah,
she's good.
Wasn't that a last minute casting? Wasn't it supposed to be somebody else who dropped out of the project? So they got her literally last minute.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since I've looked into it, but I do remember there's a lot of crazy behind the scenes shenanigans. It's a miracle the movie ever came out. Yeah. Let's see. 12 Monkeys is actually on my list, along with the movie that inspired it, La Jetée, which is like a French art film about, a guy in the future just remembering the past. But I love 12 Monkeys. I'm a time travel fanatic. If you know me, you know that. I have a book called Paradox. And that one, it's just like, you've got that Terry Gilliam style, so everything's a little off and everything's a little weird. And Bruce Willis is this is prime Bruce Willis in the 90s. And Brad Pitt just going completely over the top as the crazy dude. God.
Hold on. Probably.
Everything about that movie is fantastic. I love that movie.
And I love that trope about people turning the sewer system into a living space.
Yeah.
Which is nothing new. I mean, that goes back to War of the Worlds.
Of course.
Which I'm surprised didn't make this list. But I've always loved that concept. Of course, they refer to it in Dr. Strangelove, where it's not so much sewer systems, it's mines. But I mean, think about it. People will have to live in the sewers. I can't even think of a metaphor for that.
Tracy, hi. Tracy made it. How's it going?
Tracy, blah, blah, blah.
Hold on a second. I gotta cough again.
No worries. I will fill the proverbial dead air. Let's see. Clang, clang, clang with the trolley. Oh, good, you're back. Thank God.
I'm back.
I didn't say it was fun when I filled the dead air. I just said I was good at it.
I'm going to name another one that I haven't seen since I was a kid, but I remember watching it as a kid, and it blew my mind, and that is The Quiet Earth. A little obscure, but it was the movie that really turned me on to finding obscure movies like that, just trying to find the weird section of the video rental store. It's basically just one guy he wakes up and everybody's gone. There's just nobody left. And the kind of madness he spirals into, wearing negligee in an open stadium or something. I just remember it was completely mind-blowing to me as a kid. And the way it ends, the ending is inexplicable, but I love it. It was a great movie, and it really inspired my love of what film was capable of, if that makes sense. So I just had to name it for that reason. It does. Yeah.
Well, it also, if I remember correctly, it was the first attempt by the New Zealand Film Institute to create a science fiction film. They had never done science fiction before, so I believe that made the list as their first attempt. I thought it was Battle Truck, which, again, I'm surprised didn't make my list. But apparently, Battle Truck doesn't count, because while it was filmed in New Zealand, it was made by American production companies. So they were basically just the location. Right. Some New Zealand actors were used in it, which is why inexplicably some of the American special forces have New Zealand accents, but that it doesn't count as a true New Zealand film. So yeah, a little trivia there. But yes, I love The Quiet Earth, and I love the ambiguity of the whole storyline. It's quite possible he's just insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's a death rattle dream or something,
Right. Kind of like a occurrence in Owl Creek Bridge kind of thing. Yeah.
And that final shot, it's staggering. I remember just like through the credits, like I'm like, is this how it ends? Wow.
Uncle Joe is here. So with Joe and Scott here, I can mention that yesterday I actually had recorded a podcast for my podcast, From Here to Paternity, and we were talking about dystopia. So there's a lot of overlap. Like we talked a lot about Soylent Green in that podcast.
I'm gonna start checking out your podcast. I generally don't do podcasts, but I should. Do you post your podcasts on YouTube, like Golden Rage?
No,
does?
but I'm thinking about doing it. The problem is if I post the From Here to Paternity podcast, I'll probably get demonetized because we earn that explicit label.
Come up with a second channel. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, I might do that. I know that we're trying to get our own like From Here to Paternity channel started. So yeah, I'll just start linking to that later once we really get it up and running. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Reign of Fire. The dragon. You know what I'm talking about? The dragon movie. Yeah.
Dragon movie. Yes.
Post-apocalyptic dragons. And Matthew McConaughey, all buff with an axe, jumping into the mouth of a dragon. What's not to love about that?
Christian Bale is a crazy person. There's a reach.
Yep. Yeah. And since we're talking about Christian Bale, somebody else, hello MA, brought up Equilibrium.
Oh, but wouldn't that be more dystopian?
That's more dystopia. It's got a lot of the dystopia tropes, like an authoritarian government that wants to control how you think and feel, and it's a great movie, highly underrated.
It is, and it got so much flack, and I think it's because I think a lot of it to do with when you try to blend action and straight drama, the two don't always work. And I think a lot of people found the over-the-top action to make the film seem silly. I thought it worked. I had a blast with it. When you can actually see it for what it is, as an action drama, I think it worked well.
Yeah, Tracy, I'm thinking,
and Christian Bale is great in it, by the way.
Oh yeah, with our extended YouTube family here, we're gonna have to start coming up with like some schedule that we put in like a Google Doc or something that we can all decide. Okay, Sunday night is for Thrash. This is Dave's night. This is Ian's night. Stuff like that. We got to.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea.
I found who it was that replaced Tank Girl. It was Emily Lloyd.
Oh,
Emily Lewis.
No, Emily Lloyd.
Emily Lewis. Oh, Emily Lloyd. Okay.
I looked it
up. Me neither. I'm just being polite. Oh, Emily Lloyd, in case she's watching. Oh, of course, Emily Lloyd, of course. I'm guessing the move probably killed her career. Last thing you ever want to do in Hollywood is be labeled as a person who's tough to deal with, like dropping out of a film project.
Hey guys, how about the Matrix?
The Matrix, it's on my list. Yeah.
Hey, guess who's going to be originally in that besides Keanu Reeves?
I know Will Smith. Will Smith. Right. I knew that.
Good thing he wasn't
first, but he turned it down.
Good.
I don't feel the same way about Will Smith that Thrash does, but I don't think he's right for the Matrix at all. He definitely doesn't.
How could you feel the same way as I do?
Yeah.
All I have to do is say, when your adaptation of the Wild Wild West is not the worst film adaptation you've ever done, there's something going on in your career.
Oh man, that movie is so bad.
Oh, Mr. West.
It really is, but it's not the worst adaptation he did. So it's like, so you go from crime against humanity to an even bigger crime against humanity.
No, Will Smith has been in some real bad movies. Don't get me wrong.
Awful,
Gemini Man,
tragic, hurtful.
I didn't hate Gemini Man. I just wish it had come out in the 90s. It was like a 90s movie that came out in 2015 or something.
After
It didn't
Earth.
make sense. Oh, After Earth, though.
Earth.
After Earth is real bad. But you can't blame Will Smith for Wild Wild West because, I mean, Kevin Kline is in it. Kenneth Branagh is in it.
Selma Hayek.
It's got a lot of great... Oh, yeah, Selma Hayek. It's got a lot of great talent. It's just a bad movie.
Good soundtrack, though.
I guess. I don't remember it well enough to tell you. All I remember is the Will Smith song. Yeah. Yeah, history. We don't do a lot of history. So, yeah, that's a niche you could fill, talking about stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Particularly war films. I'm an avid war film buff.
Like highlighted history movies, like.
Yeah, you could do that.
You know, the Duelists, Midway, All Quiet on the Western Front.
Pearl Harbor.
I don't count that. There's no history in it, so I don't count it. It's about the Japanese attack on a love triangle. They barely mention the events of the time.
The Battle of Midway.
Midway.
Yeah,
the Midway scene is good. I also like in Pearl Harbor. I there's like little scenes that I like. I don't think the movie as a whole is very good, but I like little scenes. Cuba Gooding Jr. on the one ship as it's going down. I think that whole sequence is really well done. Stuff like that. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember there were things to like about it. I just think that the main storyline with the romantic triangle was just.
Hey, guys, how about this? Ben Affleck was in Pearl Harbor, right?
Yeah.
So was Jennifer Garner. Electra, Daredevil.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good one.
And Ben Affleck also did Batman, so Daredevil and Batman.
Okay, all right. Good catch. Hadn't thought of that, but you're right. Good catch. Good catch.
Yeah, if you start a YouTube channel, Tracy, you've got a lot of automatic subs. Like we'll all automatically subscribe to you, of course.
Enough subs to blockade England.
Me. I'll be the first one.
Let's see. Master Jedi Dude. Hello. He says Tora 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 was better.
Toya.
Agree. Yes.
Attack.
Tora 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 is possibly my favorite war film. Possibly. It's up against a pretty stiff competition, but I'm definitely going to put it in the top 5.
But you got my brain racing. I can't tell you my favorite 5 war movies. That's really
Tora
hard.
Tora, Bridget Remagen, All Quiet on the Western Front, either one, pick one. The Duelists, and Apocalypse Now. Even though it's more of a Joseph Conrad action adventure than an actual war film, I love that movie.
I have some.
Go for it.
Platoon.
Love it.
Great
Full Metal
movie.
Jacket.
Again,
Also great. Yep.
Hamburger Hill.
very good.
Saving Private Ryan.
Of course.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
And Glory.
Glory.
Ooh,
Good
I'm
choice.
ashamed I didn't think of Glory.
Yeah,
I'm ashamed I didn't
nice.
think of Glory.
When the head explodes.
The 5th spot is always the toughest. For some reason, every time I have to do top 5, I get to 4, and then I'm like, okay, give me a second. And I don't know why. I guess 5 is not my lucky number.
I got to go to Pearl Harbor in real life, though, in '84 when I went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I got to go in the USS Arizona out there in the middle of the water.
Nice. Yeah, my family's been there. I haven't been there. Yeah, but my family went there and sent me pictures. So
it's creepy what that area was when it was happening. It's like it would be very scary. It'd be like
I can't even imagine it. I honestly can't imagine it.
I
don't want to.
My dad was stationed at Pearl Harbor in the Navy, so
you got to think of, like it's the end of the world when that kind of stuff's happening to you, you know.
But that I can see in Pearl Harbor with that hour battle thing, that was just off the chain.
Indy, you bring up an excellent point, by the way. I didn't mention Akira. I did like Akira, but I couldn't count it as one of my top faves. I do like a lot of anime, by the way. My particular favorite, speaking of World War II, is probably Graveyard of the Fireflies, which I would definitely talk about if we did a war show. The only problem is you got to see that movie with a box of Kleenex and a bottle of scotch. It's a toughie.
And some Xanax.
It's a tearjerker.
Hey guys,
It's a hard movie to get through.
It really is.
How about Black Hawk Down?
Black Hawk Down is good. It's one of the best like modern warfare movies. There's not a lot of really good ones, and that's one of them.
Well, because they try to become all action films. And when you make a war, I mean, the opening line of All Command of the Western Front, that little opening, what do they call that? Intro by the guy who wrote it, where he says, "This is not an adventure, because death is not an adventure to people who face it every day." So when you make a war film an adventure film, it detracts. Like
absolutely. Yeah. There's like a balance that you have to strike. I mean, you want it to be an entertaining movie, but at the same time, you don't want to glorify the spectacle on screen. You want the spectacle to be horrifying, not like super exciting and rah rah rah. This is great. This is fun. You know, you don't want an action movie. You want something a little more sober than that. You know. Yeah.
Definitely. I did like.
Do you have anything else on your list? I love Akira. Hey, honestly, I think Akira is fantastic.
Let's see. On my list,
The Patriot.
The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
I was thinking. I was going to say I still have things on my post-apocalyptic list.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
go ahead.
Quintet. Any takers? Paul Newman.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
It's a great film. It takes place after, because in the early days of environmental issues, they didn't think it was going to be global warming. They thought it was going to be global cooling. So this takes place after a new ice age, and basically people are reverted to living. They crack through the ice over the ocean, and they subsist on seaweed and seals, and the seals are almost wiped out. But the really amazing thing is, it's not about that, because that's the great thing about post-apocalyptic movies. It's never about the apocalypse. It's about the human interaction. It's about the drama. And what happens is Paul Newman comes back to visit his family after a seal hunting expedition with his pregnant girlfriend. And you find the entire civilization, because they're all stuck inside all day, society's being taken over by this board game they invented, which is incredibly complicated. I heard somewhere you can actually find online. They've actually made copies of this game in case you're actually interested in playing it. I'm not. But over the course, what happens is this group of wackos decide that the game isn't satisfying enough, so they start murdering each other. And so it's basically a murder mystery with Paul Newman trying to find out why people killed his family for no inexplicable reason. And so, again, it's a post-apocalyptic murder mystery. And I thought the two going together were great. And also, much like The Left Hand of Darkness, where they actually put some thought into what a society living in a Ice Age style climate would be, you see this in this movie as well. Like, for example, he rents a room, and when he turns the light on, ice had formed on the light bulb in the ceiling. And as the room lights up, you see the ice melting and dripping down on the floor. Like, I could see that happening. So they put a lot of thought into it. It was death in the box office, I guess. But it was very well put together, I thought.
That sounds really intriguing. And, you know, you bring up Ursula Le Guin, you're going to get my attention. So, but I also, John Orchard, $10. Thank you so much. You're awesome. I love you. I don't know what else I can say.
Thank you for the $10.
We were soldiers once and young. I don't remember either. Is that We Were Soldiers? That's a movie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. And Once and Young, I have no idea. Sorry.
Might be a line for the movie. I haven't seen that movie either. By the time that movie came out, I was sort of put off by Mel Gibson. Don't know why.
I got
a lot of people were put off by Mel Gibson.
I got one.
Yes. Okay.
Battlefield Earth.
Sorry.
Battlefield Earth.
I tried to like that movie.
It's an important landmark in cinematic history. But not for all the right reasons. I tried to. I wanted to like it. I really did. I've read the book, and I think the book is fine. I kind of like it even. That's not a good movie. I'm sorry, Lance.
Which is funny because L. Ron Hubbard wrote another post-apocalyptic novel, which is one of my favorites. I have it around here somewhere, called Final Blackout, where it was written pre-World War II. And what happens is the Second World War does happen, but it creates a collapse of the global economy. And the soldiers in Europe basically form into groups of brigands, where they basically just fight for their own survival. And Europe is divided into these like little tiny balkanized states. And it's about this one guy, the lieutenant, who puts together a fighting force because his goal is to retake his home island, England. And it's incredibly well put together. And they've been talking about making it into a feature film for somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 years now. And there's some problem with the rights. I'm not sure exactly why, but I thought that was great. But I tried to like Battlefield Earth, and I just couldn't do it. But speaking of earlier forms of post-apocalyptic films, I have to read to the record what is, in my opinion, the granddaddy of them all, the precursor, the alpha patient, pun intended, and that's H.G. Wells' Things to Come.
That's on my list too, of course.
Oh, it is? Well, you know what? You take it. I've babbled long enough.
Things to Come. H.G. Wells knew that World War II was coming long before he even wrote Things to Come. He predicted a lot of stuff. He's one of the few people who actually predicted the atomic bomb. And Things to Come is all about how society restructures in the wake of that kind of devastation, of technology going so far it just breaks everything. And in Things to Come, like you like to talk about, it is the precursor to zombie movies with the walking sickness and stuff like that. But I think more it's that impulse that we like. The thing that disturbs me about Things to Come is that it portrays this authoritarian group of scientists who want to control the world with chemical weapons, basically. And we're supposed to be rooting for them. They're supposed to be the good guys because H.G. Wells was a utopian. And like, yeah, what's up?
I gotta go clean a mess my building. Don't spill as much stuff. Gotta go get it. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
See you
we will have a
I'll see you.
Yep. We'll see you tonight. We're probably gonna wrap it up pretty soon anyway. Yep. 3 weeks. Got it. But yeah, Things to Come. Fantastic. One of the most important early sci-fi movies, pre-1950. There's only a handful of sci-fi movies I would consider essential before 1950, and that's one of them.
Well stated. And yes, there is that certain love letter to the one world government, and that doesn't go unnoticed. But it was that idea that Wells had of a benevolent dictatorship, where, and again, remember, it's the scientists, it's the learned intelligentsia, people who actually know what they're doing. Let them sort of control the less educated classes, and it'll be for the best. And sadly, well, I won't get on the soapbox, but you do have to kind of take it with a grain of salt.
No, you do. And don't get me wrong. I love idealism. I can respect any kind of idealist. And I know what H.G. Wells was trying to say, and I don't completely disagree with it. I just, just bothers me a little bit. Just a little bit. But it's still a great movie and a great story. Don't get me wrong.
Very similar to Robert Heinlein.
Yeah.
People call Robert Heinlein a fascist because he really thought that the government should be ruled by a group of veterans. And they've tried that before. It generally doesn't work out. So, but again, he was, as you say, he was an idealist. And, yes, if you let the good people run, things will be fine. But what if you make a mistake and they're not the good people? Then it's like
exactly.
too late.
Age-old issue. Right.
Well, you remember, no one ever sets out to make a dystopia. They always set out to make a utopia. Something
Right.
just goes off the rails in that route.
Yeah, and I already lost my train of thought. Stupid cold medicine. So yeah, I think we should wrap it up.
Good show. Great show, guys.
So let's see. Well, what do you got going on, Thrash? I know you've already got a live stream lined up for tonight.
Yes, I do. It's going to be on short-lived I'll come in again. Short-lived TV series that people loved and were heartbroken they were canceled, and of course spin-offs. Just decided to go a whole simple nostalgia route tonight, but my channel still remains traditionally sci-fi horror reviews, both literary and film and television, of course. Still doing my series on dad jokes. Also, I have some more wretched recaps coming in line because I've gotten a new collection of comic books. Some of my fans, particularly Dan, has sent me some great comic books, and I can't wait to review them. I've just been plate's a little full. I've been taking that computer course, by the way, so I can be a little more
good.
Computer literate. Yes, but again, I invite everyone to 7:30 tonight on my channel, Thrash Pond of Ponds. 7:30 on Sundays has become my traditional live stream time, and I invite you all to please come on, like, subscribe, forward, share, and share like, and all those nice things that I'm always begging people to do. I just hit 250. I'm a quarter of the way to 1,000.
Hey, all right. I mean, every step counts. You got to do more quizzes about like 50s sci-fi and stuff, things that I can win.
Fair enough. I am trying to make my questions a little more, shall we say, inclusive.
Yeah, and you're doing a really good job. I mean, everybody's really appreciating your quizzes now.
I put a lot of work into them, but people say that they're a little on the tough side. Well, not for me. Oh, but I try to make them a little more mainstream to give everyone a chance.
I've seen the progress, and I do think you're doing a good job with them. I just wish that they were on my subjects again, because I really liked being the only one who could answer them all.
I'll do more of those, I promise.
As for me, I just finished my long-awaited video on Fire in the Sky, and it will drop next Sunday. And then 2 weeks after that, I've got a real big surprise. It's the 30th anniversary of a certain movie that I've needed to cover for a while. I know. I mean, a quick Google search will give you the answer. I'm not going to say it. And let's see. Other than that, like I said, I'm finishing up The Outer Limits. I think my last review should drop either this week or next week. I don't remember. But it's already filmed and edited and everything. And then after that, I'm going to start doing the Twilight Zone. Look forward to that. That'll be fun. I haven't decided if I'm going to do one episode per episode of the Twilight Zone like I did for Outer Limits. Since it's only half an hour instead of a full hour, I might do 2 episodes an episode. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. We'll see what happens. We'll see how much I have to say.
Because a lot of them had certain themes. You could do like you could do as just a suggestion, Old Man in the Cave and 2.
Right.
As a theme episode, the post-apocalyptic episode.
Yeah. The good thing about the Twilight Zone as opposed to the Outer Limits is I have seen most of the Twilight Zone. I don't know if I've seen all of it, but I'm very familiar with a lot of episodes. So it should be a little bit more. I should be able to talk a little bit more in depth than the Outer Limits, because the Outer Limits was just my impressions, which was fun, and it was fun to do. And I'll get on to season 2 eventually. Just I needed a break.
I understand. Trust me, I understand.
So yeah, that's all I got going. And I will be there tonight in the comment section, Thrash. You'll see me there. And for those of you who are members of those of you who are members of Dave's channel, he's got a video dropping soon. I don't know, like in an hour or so, something like that.
Hour and a half.
Okay. So thanks everybody in the comments. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Zuper. Thank you, RNG, Tracy, Martial Arts Film Freak, Scott, Uncle Joe, etc., etc., etc. I'm sorry if I didn't name you. There's a lot. And that's great. I'm so happy. Yeah, I'll catch you next time. Peace.